Hello, it is video blog time, and we are at the top of the mountains in Spokane, Washington, speaking at a camp this weekend, 30 minutes from the Canadian border. Got some fresh snow falling. I'm here with my son Malachi, and today's video blog is actually about the conversion of Saul to Paul, found in Acts chapter 9. I was studying this chapter the other day, and something interesting popped out that really never popped out to me before, that I want to talk to you about and how it pertains to you. First, we find Saul in Acts chapter 9. He is actually taking letters to Damascus. He's a murderer of Christian people. He's going to find Christians in Damascus and bring them back to Jerusalem to kill them. And he's on the road to Damascus when a bright light from heaven shines down. A voice from the heavens screams out, "Saul, Saul, why are you persecuting me?" And then Saul basically says, "Well, who is it that I'm talking to?" And then he said, "It is Jesus, the one that you were persecuting." Now, first of all, let me just get off on a side note and say, for all of those who struggle thinking that they go through things alone, why would Jesus ever say, "You were persecuting me," if he was persecuting Christians? Well, the reason that he did that was because anytime we have a relationship with Christ, when we suffer, he suffers. When we go through difficult times, he goes through difficult times. When we have joy, he has joy. He goes through all the things that we go through because we have a romantic, passionate connection with him. That's for those of you and myself who think sometimes we just go through things by ourselves. Jesus feels everything that we feel. He catches our tears in a bottle. He understands our pain, and he walks through it every step of the way with us. So, that's not even the video blog, so check out what happens next. Saul gets blinded by this light from heaven, having a conversation with the Lord. Scales fill up his eyes, he can't see, he's blinded. He's taken to a guy's house named Judas. Now that's a crazy combination, man. You are a murderer of Christian people, and you're now at a house, and the guy that lives in this house, that owns this house, his name is Judas. But it's all good because you live on Straight Street, which is what Scripture says. And so we find the story picked up in Acts after Saul gets to Judas's house, with the Lord having a conversation with a man named Ananias. Tells Ananias to go lay hands on Saul, and Ananias is asking the question, hey, this doesn't sound like a good combination. Saul, Judas, Lord, I understand that you know things better than I do, but it doesn't feel right, but I'm going to do it anyway. Just another side note. If God hung the stars in place and he created the universe and he put the earth on an axis, he spun it into life and he breathed life into all creation, what could you and I possibly add to that? So whenever the Lord calls, we just need to do it. Once again, that's not the video blog. Let's move on. So many good things in this chapter. So, Saul is blinded. Ananias comes, lays hands on him, prays for him, and scales fall from his eyes, and now he can see. Now, the video blog today actually comes from what happens next. As soon as Saul turns into Paul and he receives his sight, it says in Acts chapter 9, immediately, he didn't wait to get training. He didn't wait for somebody to tell him how to do it. Immediately, he started sharing Christ. Now, if you look at Saul's life, he was a Pharisee of all Pharisees. He was trained in the law. He was faultless in the law, which means he probably had it memorized. He was also a Roman citizen because of his father. So he could talk Roman ways all day long. He could talk Judaism ways all day long. But when it came to Jesus, he had no knowledge of who Jesus was. So what did he share? What could he possibly share to change people's lives when he didn't even have any knowledge about how to share or what a relationship with Christ was really about? He shared all he knew how to share. I was once blind, but now I see. I was once a man who used to kill Christians, but now I've been washed and cleansed by God's grace. That's all he shared. In other words, your story and my story can be very powerful when it comes to changing people's lives. He talked about all he knew. I'm blind, but now I see. And so the challenge for this video blog is, you have a powerful story. I have a powerful story. And it doesn't take a doctorate degree, a master's degree. Listen, those things are valid in some circles. But when it comes to Jesus, he literally changed the world with 12 ordinary men. Farmers and fishermen. And if he can do that with them, imagine what he can do with you and I. You don't have to know a lot about this and that. All you got to do sometimes is just share the story. I used to be this person, but now I'm completely different. I used to be blind, but now I can see. That's the power. And it's all in the story about who you used to be and who you are today. Now, when it comes to sharing the story, God will open up incredible opportunities for you. I think of what just happened to me Thursday. I went to Seattle from Spokane to hang out with a family that I know there. Take my son to the Big Space Needle and eat in the restaurant. Hang out at Pike's Place and watch them throw some fish. So we hang out in Seattle, and I get off to a much later start than what I wanted to. I leave Seattle late. I get caught in a snowstorm in the pass trying to get to Spokane. I pull over, get a hotel, which is something I never, ever do. I always drive through the night. I wake up late, which is something that I never do. Went to McDonald's, got my son something to eat, got me some coffee, got some gas, and then the next 4.5 hours, I actually went the speed limit, which is something that never, ever happens. I normally speed, I normally get to where I'm going pretty quick. And there were so many police on the road that I just kind of hit the cruise control and said, I'm not going to get a ticket, man. I'm just going to go the speed limit. Now, listen, I know there's some legalists out there. Barney Fife legalist is screaming right now, citizens arrest, citizens arrest. Listen, really, don't ruin the story with that junk, okay? So here we go. I do the speed limit the whole way to Spokane. I happened to get hungry. Asked my son what he wanted. He said he wanted some pizza. I look on the internet on my phone and find that I'm right at the exit at a Pizza Hut. I go to this random Pizza Hut, walk in, there's a lady there with an amazing smile, and I literally knew that she had the joy of the Lord in her. So I started to share my testimony, and she told me that she's a Christian, but her husband was struggling really bad. And literally her smile, all her joy, her shoulders started to slump. I mean, she went to a really bad place because she loves her husband. He was wounded, she said, by hypocrisy in the church, and he wouldn't go to church anymore, and she asked me to pray for him. So I went and got him a copy of my book and gave him my rap CD because she said he's a musician, which, how random is that? Got to write a note in there and put my phone number in there and tell him to give me a call if he ever needed to talk. And so when I left the Pizza Hut, I started thinking about all the dynamics that God used to make that happen. Went to Seattle, left Seattle late, got caught in a snowstorm, got a hotel, woke up late, went the speed limit, which never happens, going down a highway, found a random Pizza Hut, and here I am, being able to share my God story with someone who needs to be encouraged. That's how God works. He wants to use your story and mine to change the world. You don't have to have training in that. Paul didn't have any training. He only shared what he knew. Once again, he was blind, but he could see. Once he used to be filled with sin and shame, but now he was washed away with God's grace, washed clean, as white as snow. So, the video challenge, go get with it, man. Every single day, share your God story and watch what he does. He will literally maneuver your life in such a way to take you where he wants you to go so you can share your God story every single day with someone who needs to be encouraged. I love you. I pray for you. I pray that we would always be about God's business and sharing what God has done in our heart. Have an amazing week. Peace.